Welcome to AI News in 10, your top AI and tech news podcast in about 10 minutes. AI tech is amazing and is changing the world fast. For example, this entire podcast is curated and generated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. Here's what's new in AI and tech on Thursday, January 15th, 2026. A blockbuster earnings beat from TSMC, a big jump in their spending plans, and a ripple effect that pushed ASML past the $500 billion mark. Google is wiring Gemini into your personal Google universe, if you opt in. OpenAI locked down a huge multi-year compute deal with Cerebras, and a nationwide Verizon outage raised 911 concerns before getting resolved late last night. Let's dig in. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Need elite developers fast? Elite Coders connects you with rigorously vetted senior engineers in 24 to 48 hours. Staff augmentation, dedicated teams, or full project delivery, we've got you covered. Visit elitecoders.co to get started today.
Now, let's dive into today's stories. Story 1. TSMC just set the tone for chip earnings season. The world's top contract chip maker reported fourth quarter 2025 net profit of 505.7 billion new Taiwan dollars, about 16 billion US dollars, up 35% year over year and ahead of estimates. Revenue rose 20% to 1.046 trillion new Taiwan dollars, according to Reuters. Management didn't just celebrate, they opened the wallet. TSMC guided 2026 capital spending to between $52 and $56 billion, well above last year. Translation: they see sustained, very real AI demand at the leading edge, the chips that power NVIDIA's and Apple's most advanced products. Markets liked it, and analysts read it as confirmation that AI infrastructure is still in go mode. Beyond the headline numbers, the message was capacity, 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 especially for advanced packaging and the 3 nanometer and below nodes. TSMC's investor materials underscored the focus on utilization, product mix, and whether 2 nanometer ramps can stay on schedule amid insatiable AI orders. If you're watching the supply chain, this is the signal that 2026 will be another build year for compute. Story 2. The TSMC capex surge had an immediate ripple. ASML, the Dutch lithography giant that makes the EUV tools no one else can, briefly climbed past a $500 billion market cap. If TSMC is spending more than expected, about 21%, equipment makers are obvious beneficiaries. Reuters notes ASML shares jumped after TSMC's outlook, even as ASML's own guidance remains conservative heading into its January 28th report. It's a reminder that the AI build-out lifts not just chip designers and foundries, but also the tool makers enabling those bleeding edge nodes. Let's pivot to consumer AI. Story 3. Google announced Personal Intelligence, a major update to Gemini that, with your permission, lets the assistant draw on your Gmail, Google Photos, search, and YouTube history to deliver more tailored, context-aware answers. It's rolling out in beta in the US to paid subscribers first. Google says it's opt-in with app-level controls and guardrails, off by default with limits on sensitive inferences unless you ask directly. Think, what's my license plate number, pulled from an email, or planning advice that references past trips in photos. The Verge reports it's a direct push to turn chat into a true personal assistant that remembers you. Early coverage also highlights the privacy posture. Google says Gemini won't train on the full contents of your private data by default. Instead, training can occur on the prompts and interactions you choose to share, and you can pick which apps to connect. It's a competitive shot at OpenAI, Anthropic, and others, leveraging Google's vast ecosystem, while betting big on user trust. If this sticks, it raises the bar for an assistant that actually knows me across the industry, according to The Verge. Before we continue, here's a quick message from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Family GPT, the AI chat platform actually designed for kids. If your children are curious about ChatGPT, but you're worried about what they might see, Family GPT gives you full parental controls, content filtering, and the ability to align responses with your family's values, whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, secular, and many more. Monitor every conversation, set usage limits, and let your kids explore AI safely. No ads, no data selling, complete privacy. Sign up free at familygpt.chat. That's familygpt.chat.
All right, let's get back to it. Story 4. OpenAI and Cerebras announced a multi-year pact for 750 megawatts of AI compute through 2028, valued at over $10 billion, according to multiple reports in OpenAI's own post. The pitch isn't just more flops, it's lower latency inference at scale. Cerebras's wafer-scale systems put massive compute, memory, and bandwidth on a single giant chip, aiming to speed up thinking time for complex tasks so ChatGPT-class systems feel more instantaneous. OpenAI framed its strategy as a diversified portfolio, matched the right hardware to the right workload, and highlighted Cerebras as a dedicated low-latency leg of that stool. Cerebras's CEO put it this way: as broadband transformed the internet, real-time inference could transform AI. The Financial Times and Reuters both put the deal north of $10 billion, and OpenAI says capacity will arrive in tranches starting this year. Story 5. A nationwide Verizon outage snarled wireless service across major US cities, leaving some phones stuck in SOS mode and prompting officials to warn that 911 calling could be affected. At the peak, outage trackers saw well over 100,000 reports, with disruptions spanning New York, DC, Chicago, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and more. Verizon said late last night, around 10:15 p.m. Eastern, that service was restored and it will issue account credits to impacted customers. The FCC says it will investigate, according to the Associated Press. For businesses and city agencies, the outage is another wake-up call to stress-test failover plans, Wi-Fi calling, satellite messaging on newer phones, and redundant carrier options, especially where emergency communications are at stake. Expect both regulatory scrutiny and renewed carrier investment to harden critical paths, as noted by industry coverage from Barron's. Quick recap. TSMC's record quarter and bigger than expected 2026 capex reinforced that AI's infrastructure cycle is still accelerating, and ASML's surge showed how that spending radiates across the toolchain. Google's Gemini made a big move into opt-in personal context, potentially redefining what a helpful assistant feels like. OpenAI locked in a $10+ billion Cerebras deal to speed up real-time AI at scale, and Verizon's outage was resolved late Wednesday with credits promised and an FCC probe likely. We'll be back tomorrow with what moves next. Thanks for listening, and a quick disclaimer: this podcast was generated and curated by AI, using my and my kids' cloned voices. If you want to know how I do it, or want to do something similar, reach out to me at emad@ainewsin10.com. That's AI News in 10.com. See you all tomorrow.